So, hey everybody, welcome back. This is going to be another kind of podcast type thingamajig that we keep doing. It's very fun, and this time I am joined with...
Travis.
Mike.
Guys.
I knew that was going to happen.
Because we always respond at the exact same time, so then I was going to wait, and I think Mike had the exact same thought process there.
We just need to get an order down where we do it in the same order every time.
Alphabetical works.
Okay, I'm Mike.
Works. Wait a second, you guys know the alphabet?
Is it barely?
Yeah,
Okay,
A, B, C, D, Z.
There we go.
That's fair enough. Well, anyway, so... so our topic now is going to actually be on something a little bit different, but it was, I believe it was suggested by What's Up Everybody, which is a very good topic that I thought was going to be, that I think we'll have a good discussion on, and that is about educational games. And I'm not just talking about, like, Arthur Teaches Typing or something like
Reader
that.
Rabbit was a great game, though.
It was. And also were all the Jumpstart games, too.
And Freddy the Fish was pretty
true.
solid, too.
There you
They
go.
weren't, we can talk about those games too, but what I'm saying is that, like, overall our topic is, like, what do we think about... So a couple of topics to go from is whether we think games are more helpful or hurtful when it comes to education, and at the same time whether it's like a good thing, especially like to teach your kids to play games at like a young age or something like that, whether it's more helpful or hurtful, and whether they have like an educational impact, which is good, or if it's not, or if it's on the not as good of a side. So to start things off, I'm gonna pose the question as, I guess what we said before, with if we're talking about straight up educational games like typing games, like say math games and whatnot. I personally think that those would be helpful, obviously, but I know some people are a little iffy about that. What do you guys think?
Well, those games I feel like are pretty obviously educational.
Well, I know they're obviously educational, but I know sometimes, at least I've known some kids when I was younger that their parents were like, "You're not allowed in front of the computer. You're not allowed in front of a TV." So it's like, in that way, like I feel like if you have such a negative connotation about those games, it might not be as helpful.
Yeah, I think there was just a time period where people just thought anything that was electronic is just like from the devil.
Yeah.
Which is...
No, that's true.
Then, like, I know for me, I didn't really have access to, like, a computer until I was a little older, too. So, like, just the fact that it was, like, new to us when, like, I was already, like, pretty much middle school at that point, for computer-wise. Like, we didn't really know what games were out there to be educational for anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So...
Well, one of the first games that I remember, especially like on the computer, besides a game that was something educational, was like Backyard Baseball or something like that.
Oh my gosh.
So
I played so much
I mean,
backyard games.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, even if we do play those games, at least I remember I played some of those games, I don't have a lot of a memory of it. Because in my mind, especially when we're playing those kinds of games, like those educational games, they weren't really what I considered fun and what I wanted to keep playing. It was my mom looking over my shoulder like, "Hey, are you playing this game? Are you learning?"
Mm-hmm.
And going from there.
Yeah, because, like, for me, like, my educational games were, like, Reader Rabbit, and I think I had a Freddy the Fish, the cowboy one. And, like, I actually enjoyed those games, even though they were also educational. Because I think we had one other one, but it was strictly, like, typing, and I hated it. But then there was also, we had the Tonka computer game, and that, like, you actually, like, put, like, a tool set over the keyboard, and then you'd, like, actually use the tools, like, to interact with the game, and, like, it would just, you know, obviously hit a certain keyboard button, but, so that one, like, helped.
I mean, that's cool.
Yeah, because, like, it was kind of educational, because, like, it introduced you to, like, the different construction tools and, like, what they're used for, but...
Yeah, I mean, that's cool, but at the same time, it sounds like it'd be dangerous to your computer.
I mean, because, like, it was all connected to this one thing, like, I wasn't, like, having an actual hammer and smashing something. It was like plastic little...
Oh, I can just picture Travis doing that.
That would be awesome.
I might have put some things through TV, like, I don't know, an N64 remote or something. I don't know.
I don't
Playing
doubt it.
a game called I don't know. You know, I don't rage at games.
Never. Ever.
There's no reason why we're trying to push Travis Rage as an emote. There's no way. There's no way.
Yeah, right.
Oh
but anyway,
God,
sorry, Mike.
please.
What do you think about that really fast? About that.
Well, I can almost talk from personal experience, because, like, the place that I work at, I see a lot of kids that play the Reader Rabbit game still. And there's another one, I think it's called Math Blaster, but I've seen, like, first grade kids that can do, like, third and fourth grade math just because they want to get to, like, the next level in the games.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I feel like just from what I've seen, that those games specifically definitely do the job. Because kids, it's a video game, you know?
Right.
And it's a game, like the Math Blaster game is a game where you're shooting at numbers, but they're numbers. You have to do math to solve it. So it's a video game that's masked, you know, or it's an educational experience that's like masked as a video game. So like, I don't even think the kids know that they're necessarily playing like an educational game, but they're so into it that, you know, they've asked. They want to learn like more advanced multiplication just so they can do the next level, which is pretty cool. So I think the games are doing their job.
That's cool. Okay, so I guess taking a more of a step back and say about these games. So when I was a kid, when I was at daycare, at least when I was in kindergarten, they had a game, obviously Super Smash Brothers. They had it for the N64, and I remember loving playing it. But then I remember talking to my mom maybe a couple days later, and I was telling her about this game, and she looked into it, and she thought that it had a teen rating. Like, they thought it was rated T. It was rated E, but she thought it was a T rating, so we weren't allowed to play it, me or my sisters. Like, we would get back, even if we got to the daycare early, like, we just weren't allowed to play it, so we would play outside or something. I know, crazy, listening to our parents, right? But anyway, so it's like, I remember, I was kind of on like the bridge between whether games were helpful or hurtful, and then later on in life, especially when I was learning sports, my parents were like really excited because me and my sister, when it came to hand-eye coordination, not as much in soccer, but like in basketball and baseball, when we'd be playing those sports, especially like Little League, we had the hand-eye coordination already there, and what they attributed it to was video games because that's where we learned it. So that's the next question I want to ask you guys is, what do you think of that? Like, just games in general, because I think it had more of a positive outlook for me, because it actually taught me how to, like, at least translated for me, like, the whole, like, depth perception and everything. That's what it helped me out with. But
that makes sense.
Because it might be, it makes sense. But I mean, I'm wondering if you guys had something similar.
I have, it wasn't coordination, but exactly what you were saying before, how you were at this daycare and you were playing Smash Bros with everyone. I thought it was more of a way for another social interaction, because like, I know, like, I like to play sports and stuff too, but I'm definitely pretty nerdy when it comes to what I usually do in my free time. Hence, I do this with you guys.
Yeah.
So like,
the best decision. So
always prefer like split screen games over like online gaming, like League of Legends, just because I like being with the people. So
I agree.
For me, I think it helped me like introduce another way to like be able to hang out with someone or get to know someone, because like, heck, all of us actually started hanging out because Mike got the new Smash Bros game for the Wii U
and Mario Kart.
Yeah, and
Don't
Mario
forget
Kart.
about Mario Kart.
Both of those games.
So like, that's how majority of us actually became friends. So like, I feel like it helps introduce you to like a bunch of different social aspects, and like, it's starting to lose that kind of charm, because now a bunch of the games, it's like, I know on the Xbox One, split screen is like not even a possible excuse me, not even possible in some of the games, because it's like 2 HD and it can't process being able to do like more than 2 screens, and that sucks.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Because like, I loved having like Call of Duty, Sabotage, like team fights, and we'd like have like an entire tournament over the weekend between me and my older brother and his friends and my friends, and then like we'd do a bunch of Halo stuff, split screen, and it's just like not even possible anymore. So now it's basically everyone stays home and you'll just talk on a headset.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand why they started doing that with, especially because the distance might be an issue. But yeah, I always did prefer like the social interaction that we would have. Like, I mean, especially when we were recording videos, of being in the same room.
Right.
I think that actually has a lot more merit than just saying that, well, we're playing a game, we can talk on there, have a social interaction, which is cool. But at the same time, it's so much more, and I feel like you get so much more of an enjoyment out of it when you have that other person to be.
Right.
I
think that's why I'm so
Mike?
much more attracted to Nintendo versus any of the other consoles, just because they're still doing the party game set, like, games. And then, like, I also like PC gaming, but I can bring my laptop anywhere. So, like, when I play League of Legends, I'm usually sitting in the room with at least one other person that I'm actually playing with, because I'm cool like
that's
that.
a good point.
I feel like we moved away from the topic a lot here too.
Well, I mean,
It's educational.
also,
Something like that.
I mean, it's still like educational and whatnot, but I mean, it's like as a social interaction. I mean, if you still learn about people and like you're having those social interactions, technically games are still educational at that point.
Yeah.
Because it's teaching you those
not
social
everything
skills.
is academics, strictly.
Well, see, that's the thing,
That's
too,
true.
is like, I think we get it so, like caught up. We're like, oh, do video games make grades better? But like, I don't think that's really the question that should be asked in the first place.
Yeah.
I feel like video games are good for those other things. Because, I mean, let's be honest, we talk about this all the time. What you learn in your history class from the book is not going to help you in your job in your future. But kind of like you both mentioned with hand-eye coordination or with social interaction or, I even look at video games as far as like critical thinking goes, how, especially a lot of like puzzle games or even Zelda games, you have to look at a situation and try to figure out the best way to deal with it. Those are skills that will help you later in life. So I almost think, even if it's not academic, I think video games almost give you skills that are better than academics. And maybe we're just saying this because we're biased because we love video games and we're college students. But like, I totally believe that like video games can almost in a way prepare you for life better in some ways than school can.
Well, no, I definitely agree with that because especially when because I mean I've always played games before, but I mean I've always been more of a fan of older games because I mean those were my favorite. That's what I grew up with, nostalgia, obviously. But when we're talking about like if we're talking like strictly like if you ask me are games educational, like just games, it doesn't have to be I don't know the reading rabbit game or something like that, and it can also be like Super Smash Brothers. I think games are educational. Whether it's educational in an academic setting and it can translate to that setting, I don't think it's as like 2 + 2 = 4. It's not that direct correlation. I think it can, especially with those kinds of games, but at the same time, it does go in a more. I agree with you, Mike. It goes on a broader spectrum about where it actually gives you that education. It doesn't have to be straight. If you play this video game, you're going to get an A in history. Like if you play Assassin's Creed, you're not going to get an A in history. But maybe if you play Assassin's Creed...
Maybe if you play Assassin's Creed 3.
Well, maybe if you play...
War.
Maybe if you play a platforming game like that, I don't know, you might be able to survive a bigger fall. You know what? I think you guys know what I mean.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I get you, yeah.
So, what do you guys have to say about
IDARP
that?
can teach you math. We learned that.
Yeah.
With that halftime game.
Oh, that's true, the He-Math.
Oh man, I
No,
completely
but, like-
forgot about that.
Yeah, but it's true because like even if Assassin's Creed doesn't teach you accurate history, that's the kind of game that can get someone more interested in history.
Right.
You know?
That's true.
Because there's things like that too, or like Phoenix Wright with like someone that might want to be a lawyer, or you have Trauma Center which might make you want to be a doctor. Even if it's not the most accurate stuff, it can almost like spark an interest in the subject.
Right.
So again, even though it's not teaching you the most accurate stuff, it's getting you more interested in the school part of it. So that's why I think, like we've been saying over and over, I don't think it's directly related to academics, but I think there's a lot that ties into it that can make it educational.
All right. I gotcha. So, closing thoughts?
Everyone should play video games.
Yes.
It's good for you.
They should have a class for it to hone your skills.
Yeah, it's a video game class. I personally think that it'd be cool if everybody had like a little bit of a background because I do think that they are more helpful than hurtful. We can talk about maybe in a later podcast when it starts getting hurtful. I mean, we kind of did that a little bit with the video game violence, but at the same time, yeah, I agree. So I guess that wraps it up. If you guys are good.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we covered everything.
All right, cool. Again, let us know what you think. If you have any suggestions for other podcast topics, leave it in the comment section below. And thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See ya.